Long ago, Earth was part of the Great Galactic Council. Humans were still new to space travel, but they learned fast. Too fast. Other alien races started to feel afraid. They said humans were dangerous, unpredictable, and wild. Some feared humans could take control one day. Then something terrible happened. A massive space station exploded near the edge of Council space. Thousands of alien lives were lost. No one knew who did it. But a few powerful races blamed humans. They said a human terrorist group was responsible, even though there was no real proof. The council held a vote. The result was shocking. Earth was banished. All human ships were blocked from entering alien space. All trade was stopped. All humans living off Earth were forced to return or be hunted. Humanity is no longer welcome, the council said. Earth is cut off. The humans were angry. They were sad. But more than anything, they felt betrayed. A man named Admiral Corrin stood on the last human ship leaving alien space. He looked out at the stars and said, "They fear us now. One day they'll respect us." Earth changed quickly. Without alien trade, humans had to survive alone. Countries on Earth stopped fighting with each other. Old wars ended. Borders faded. A new alliance was formed, called the Ember Union. It was built on one simple idea. We don't need anyone. We'll become stronger than ever. The world united. Scientists worked day and night. Engineers built huge machines underground. The moon was turned into a giant research station. Mars became a factory. Even the gas giant stations, once abandoned, started to glow again with new life. But the most secret project was under Antarctica. It was called Project Ember. No one outside Earth knew what it was. Even many humans didn't know. Only the top commanders and leaders had access. They knew the truth. Project Ember wasn't just about building weapons. It was about building something more. At the same time, something else happened. A baby was born in a hidden underground city under the ice of Antarctica. The doctors gasped when they saw a strange mark glowing faintly on the baby's back. It looked like a star, burning red. The scientists checked everything. The child had normal human DNA, but his brain showed patterns they had never seen. His heart beat stronger. His mind learned faster. The child was named Kale. No one understood what he would become. But deep down, many believed this child was a sign, a symbol that humanity was not just banished, they were chosen. Years passed. Kyle grew up in silence and secrecy. He trained every day. He learned about war, history, science, leadership. He was not just a student. He was a weapon in the making. Above Earth, the stars watched silently. The alien races forgot about humanity. They thought humans would become weak, lost, broken. But Earth was changing. A fire was growing. One night, Kale stood under the stars. He looked at the moon glowing above and said to his mentor, "They turned their backs on us. One day we will return not in chains but as rulers." His mentor, General Elia, placed a hand on his shoulder and nodded. "Let them forget us. The forgotten often return, with fire in their eyes." Below them, deep in the ice, Project Ember hummed to life. Lights turned on, systems activated. A voice echoed through the chamber. "Starship Exodus, core ignition ready." In the cold black of space, silence ruled. But under the surface of Earth, in the hidden cities below the ground and deep in the moon's hollow core, machines whispered. They whispered secrets of war, of stars, of power. They were not just building weapons. They were building the future. 10 years had passed since Earth was exiled. The galaxy had moved on. Most aliens believed humans were gone, lost in their own darkness. But they didn't know the truth. Earth had not fallen. Earth had vanished into the shadows, and in the shadows, humanity began to rise. Kyle was now 17. He had never seen a blue sky. He was born underground, raised inside steel walls, trained in war rooms and gravity chambers. But his eyes burned like a flame. His mind worked faster than any computer, and his heart beat with something no machine could match: purpose. The leaders of the Ember Union gathered one night in a massive chamber beneath the Antarctic ice. Their faces were lit by the blue glow of a large circular table. Around them were holograms of secret starships, weapon plans, and data stolen from alien networks. General Elia stood at the head of the room. Her voice was calm, but sharp. Project Ember is ready. Exodus is flight-capable. Our stealth systems are undetectable. The AI fleets are complete. She turned to Kale. But we will not move until you give the word. Kale nodded slowly. He didn't speak right away. Instead, he walked to a window that showed the dark tunnels leading to Earth's old space elevator. The galaxy threw us into the dirt, he said. Now we rise from the dirt, as something they no longer understand. Meanwhile, far from Earth in the Hilari star system, something strange happened. A large alien battleship had been sent near the edge of old human space. The ship vanished, no signals, no survivors. Just silence. The council didn't panic. A black hole, they said. Just an accident. But then another ship disappeared. Then a scout drone, then a cargo freighter with no weapons. Whispers began to spread. Some aliens said, "It's the humans. They're alive." Others laughed, "Impossible. They're finished." But the ones who had fought humans before stayed silent. Their eyes filled with fear. They remembered the fire behind human eyes. Back on Earth, a new generation of commanders was rising. Children trained beside Kale. They played war games on full-scale battle simulators. They learned alien languages, weak points of alien ships, and how to break enemy code in seconds. One of them was Rin, an orphan girl who grew up on the streets of old Tokyo Dome. Now, she was Earth's top cyber warfare expert at only 16. Her hands danced on glowing screens, controlling fleets of drones with a single thought. Another was Jace, once a miner on Mars. He now led the moon's Shadow Wing, a squadron of silent black warships with no engines, no noise, and no mercy. Kyle looked at his people, his friends, and said, "We are not alone anymore, we are one." Project Ember now had more than just one ship. It had 10. Each ship was different. Some were designed for stealth. Others carried entire factories inside. A few had weapons no alien had ever seen, like gravity spears and sun cannons. But the most powerful was still the original, Exodus. It was not just a ship. It was a message to the galaxy. You should have finished us when you had the chance. One cold night, under the silence of Earth's frozen north, the ground split open. A massive platform rose into the air, revealing the Exodus in full view. Its black armor shimmered like water. Its engines hummed softly. Kyle walked to its ramp. General Elia gave him a salute. "The shadows have served us well, but now it's time." Kyle's eyes burned. "We rise in the light now." He stepped into the ship. The ramp closed. Engines flared. And with no sound, no trace, the first human warship in 10 years left Earth. The stars didn't notice. Not yet. But soon, they would remember what they tried to forget. The alien ship came back spinning. Its hull was torn, lights flickering, engines smoking. It crash-landed on the surface of Zaral Prime, the capital world of the Hilari Empire. Crowds gathered around, whispering, staring at the broken beast. Soldiers pulled open the hatch. Inside was one survivor. Captain Zeltor, proud warrior of the Hilari Navy, crawled out, bleeding, shaking, terrified. "The humans," he gasped. "They didn't fire first, but when we didn't, they disappeared like smoke, and then they watched us die." No one believed him until they saw the footage. It wasn't a battle. It was a message. The humans didn't attack. They only defended. They used weapons no one had seen, ships that didn't show up on scanners, drones that shut down engines with a whisper. And worst of all, the human ship simply vanished after the fight, without a trace. The council called an emergency meeting. "They are hiding something powerful," said one leader. "They should not have this level of tech," said another. "They were exiled, not destroyed," whispered the oldest member of the council. Meanwhile, in deep space, far beyond the mapped routes of the galaxy, the Exodus floated silently. Kale stood on the command bridge, staring at the stars. Around him, officers monitored systems and watched alien channels. They saw everything: the fear, the meetings, the lies. "First contact is complete," Kale said. And this time, we were the mystery. Rin appeared beside him, holding a data pad. "Alien networks are trying to block the footage, but too late. The truth is already spreading." Jace walked in from the weapons deck, his expression calm. "The council will act. They always do. Fear makes them stupid." Kyle nodded slowly. "Let them come." Back on Earth, the Ember Union broadcasted a signal. It was short, calm, and chilling. "Humanity is not gone. We are watching, we are learning, and we are ready." That message was sent in every alien language known. The reactions came fast. Some laughed, some screamed, and some packed up and ran. On a distant mining colony on the edge of the Zymari sector, 3 alien workers saw something strange. A strange shadow moved across the sky. They looked up and saw a ship they had never seen before. Black, silent, beautiful, and deadly. And then it was gone. Later that night, a message appeared on every screen of that colony. "You left us to rot. We chose to rise. You will now remember." The council was divided. The more aggressive races wanted war, but the smarter ones remembered human unpredictability. They remembered Earth's creativity, its strange inventions, its refusal to surrender. So, the council sent a message, a peace offer. It read, "If you are truly back, let us meet in neutral space." The Ember Union responded with silence. Then, 3 days later, the meeting site was revealed. It was an old abandoned trading post between star systems long forgotten, but when the council ships arrived, they were met by something else, a single human drone. It hovered silently, then played a hologram. Kyle's face appeared. He looked straight into the eyes of the council. "You exiled us. You feared us. You left us with nothing, and now you want to talk?" He smiled slightly. "Talk to our ships, talk to our people, but understand one thing." The hologram glitched, then came one final sentence. "First contact is over. Now the second begins." Suddenly, the drone exploded into light. Not a weapon, but a burst of data. The council ships were flooded with blueprints, videos, maps, showing human colonies, human power, and human technology. And at the very end of the data stream, one last message appeared. "We are not here to beg. We are here to lead." A red flag burned on the steps of the Varel Dominion's palace. It wasn't set on fire by enemies. It was burned by the people. Aliens gathered around the flames, eyes wide, mouths silent. They watched the symbol of their rulers turn to ash. And, on the walls behind them, someone had painted a symbol, 3 glowing stars rising from a broken circle, the mark of the Ember Union. No one knew who painted it. No one saw the humans. But their message was clear. They were no longer hiding. The First World had fallen, not to war, but to hope. The Varel people had lived under chains for centuries. When they saw Kale's message, they didn't feel fear. They felt fire. The idea that a forgotten race could rise from nothing and become strong. It gave them courage. And in one night, 5 more planets followed. They didn't join the council. They didn't declare war. They raised new banners, burning flags of old kings and drawing 3 stars in the dirt. Kyle stood in the command room of the Exodus, watching the map of the galaxy flicker. One by one, small planets began turning red, not for danger but for unity. Rin smiled. "The flame is spreading." Kyle nodded. "We didn't conquer, we inspired. That's more dangerous than any weapon." General Elia appeared on the screen, from Earth's command bunker. "Your speech was broadcast in over 30 systems, even enemy commanders are watching." Kale turned to the crew. Then let them watch. Across the galaxy, quiet revolts began. Workers on the mining moon Koth refused to power council ships. Merchants in the Talari system secretly transported human tech. An old Halari general even sent a message to Earth. I fought you once. I will not fight again. My sons follow your flame now. But with change came danger. The council watched these shifts with growing rage. Humans are poisoning our systems with ideas. One elder shouted. Not bullets, ideas, that is worse. So they made a decision. They would erase the symbol of the flame, publicly, loudly, and without mercy. They sent Fleethammer 300 warships. Their mission, destroy the first planet to join the humans. Kareth Minor, no mercy. No survivors. The fleet arrived in full force, weapons charged, but the skies above Kareth were not empty. From the darkness, 5 shapes appeared. Not big ships, not full armies. Just 5 Ember-class stealth warships. Silent, sleek, and deadly. The Council fleet laughed. 5 ships against 300 fools. But then, the human ships vanished from their scanners. One by one, the Council ships began to fail. Engines shut down. Turrets jammed. Communication systems overloaded with strange code. And then, with no warning, the human ships reappeared, each one hovering above a Council flagship, and from the sky. They dropped flags, not bombs. Flags, glowing red, with the symbol of the 3 stars. One message was broadcast to every ship. You fight for power, we fight for meaning. You burn planets, we light flames. The human ships vanished again, and the Council fleet, shaken, broken, humiliated, turned back. They didn't lose a war. They lost faith. Back on Kareth Minor, the people cried with joy. They waved red banners. They painted stars on their homes. And in the center of the capital, a statue was raised overnight. It showed a human reaching down to lift an alien child. The plaque read, "The flame that found us." Kale stood on the Exodus reading the message through a screen. His voice was soft. They tried to burn us, but we became the fire. In the heart of the galaxy, behind walls of gold and arrogance, the Galactic Council made a decision they would never forget. We were too soft, the Supreme Speaker growled. They're just humans, barely even 100 years in space, and now they dare turn our worlds against us? Around the table, alien rulers slammed fists, hissed in anger, and demanded blood. No more warnings, no more games, shouted the Tharn Overseer. We burn Earth and every flame they've lit. And so they launched Operation Purge Star. 7 battle groups, 700 ships, the largest armada ever formed in Council history. Their target, Earth. Their goal, erase humanity completely. They expected a simple victory. They were wrong. Very, very wrong. Kyle stood inside the Exodus, now in orbit around Titan. He watched the enemy ships appear on the long-range scan, like a wave of darkness. Rolling across space, Jace leaned forward. That's not a fleet, that's a storm. Kyle nodded calmly. Good, let them bring thunder, we have fire. On Earth, a secret defense system activated for the first time. Thousands of satellites came online. Artificial moons turned toward the sky. Massive defense walls on Mars unfolded like giant metal flowers. The Kuiper defense wall, humanity's final shield, was awake and waiting. The Council fleet approached without fear. Their sensors picked up nothing unusual. Their commanders laughed. No resistance? But the moment they crossed the Kuiper line, silence. Ships started dying. Not with explosions, with whispers. Their systems crashed. Navigation maps scrambled. Ships collided in the dark. One captain screamed into the comms, "We're flying blind. They've blinded us." Then from the blackness, human ships emerged. Not big ones, not slow ones. Fast, smart, alive. The Council's battleships tried to lock on, but the human ships split into swarms, moving like water, like smoke. And then they attacked, with weapons never seen before. Plasma nets that trapped ships like bugs. Gravity blades that sliced through hulls without sound. EMP mines that floated like snow. Then fried everything. In just 3 hours, the mighty fleet of 700 was shattered. Only 30 ships escaped. They ran without orders. They ran without pride. They ran with only one thought. This was a mistake. Back on Earth, no fireworks were launched. No cheers, no speeches, only silence. Kale stood alone in a quiet room watching the battle log. He whispered, "They came to crush us. They only reminded us who we are." Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The Council was no longer feared. The humans were. Entire planets began painting 3 stars on their doors. Alien children played games where they pretended to be Ember pilots. Even Council, soldiers, once loyal, began to ask questions. How did they win? Why did we attack? What if they're right? The Council held an emergency meeting, this time in secret. Their heads hung low. One elder said the words no one had ever dared speak. "We may have created our own rulers." But the Council was not finished yet. They had one more plan, one last hope, a trap. They would send peace, fake peace, a ship carrying supposed ambassadors, its true cargo, a planet-killing bomb. Their target? The human Star Emperor himself. Back on the Exodus, Kale looked at the peace request. He studied it, he smiled, and then he said softly, "Let them come." The peace ship entered human space with golden wings and white flags. Its message was clear: surrender disguised as peace. But Earth was not the same Earth they had exiled. No longer broken, no longer begging. Now, it was watching. Inside the Exodus, Kale stood before a massive screen, arms crossed, eyes sharp. His officers watched the ship approach with caution. Rin tapped her console. No weapons detected, but the ship's energy readings, they're strange, too smooth, like someone is hiding something. Kale didn't blink. "Prepare a ghost scan, quiet, deep." The scan began. Seconds later, alarms flashed red. Hidden in the center of the ship, behind false walls and masked tech, was a gravity pulse bomb. Big enough to turn a planet into dust. Jace swore under his breath. They came with peace in one hand and death in the other. Kale looked calm, but his voice dropped. They came to end us again. He pressed a button on his console. Single drone launched silently from the Exodus. It moved like a shadow, entered the peace ship without touching it, hacked its systems in 1 second, and with a gentle pulse, turned the bomb into glass. The Council's plan failed before it even began. Kyle didn't destroy the ship. Instead, he sent it back. Empty. Inside it, a single note was left, written in every known language. "We don't return evil with evil. We return lies with truth." The galaxy shook, not from explosions, but from clarity. Billions of aliens saw what the humans had done. They showed power, but also mercy. And mercy is more powerful than fear. On a world named Delora, a once neutral trade, millions gathered in the open desert. Alien leaders from across systems arrived without weapons. They came not as rulers, but as guests. In the center stood a single figure, Kyle. He wore no crown, no armor, only a dark red cloak with the 3 stars shining on his chest. He stepped onto a stone platform and raised one hand. Silence fell across the crowd. Then he spoke. "Years ago, we were exiled, banished, forgotten. We had no allies, no trade, no hope." He paused. "And still, we rose." His voice echoed like thunder. "We rose not to take revenge. We rose to show the stars a better way." He looked at the alien leaders, some shaking, some crying. "You feared what we could become, and now we are what you feared." The crowd stayed silent. Then a child stepped forward, an alien girl. She held up a simple crown made of stone and gold wires. She whispered, "You gave us fire, and you asked for nothing." She placed the crown on Kyle's head. The crowd exploded into cheers, not of fear, but of hope, of unity, of flame, and from every corner of the galaxy, messages poured in. We join the flame. We follow the ember. We kneel not in fear, but in faith. Back on Earth, General Elia watched the day broadcast with tears in her eyes. We were once the forgotten, she said. Now we are the flame that lights the stars. In the cold silence between galaxies, a message drifted through space. No war. No threat. Just 7 words. What do you want, humans of Earth? It came from the last council planet still standing. A world that had once spoken with power. Now it whispered with fear. Inside the Exodus, Kale read the message. His commanders stood behind him waiting for his reply, but Kyle didn't answer right away. He looked at the stars through the glass, his hands behind his back. They finally ask, he said softly, not with orders, but with honesty. Rin stepped forward. We've already won. The council is broken. The galaxy follows us. Kyle nodded. Yes. But ruling through fear isn't victory. We rise for something more. He turned to Jace. Send them an answer. Jace blinked. What should I say? Kyle's eyes didn't leave the stars. Tell them. We already have everything. Across the galaxy, the message arrived. Simple, calm. We already have it all. What do you want? And with those words, the power shifted. Not in fire, not in death, but in truth. The council disbanded the next day. Its halls were empty. Its flags were lowered. Its records erased. And in their place, a new alliance was born. The Flame Concord, a union not of species, but of souls. Each planet kept its freedom, but they chose a shared path, and they chose a name for their leader. The Star Flame. Emperor on Earth, a vast city bloomed where deserts once ruled. The sky was filled with floating ships, glowing towers, and gardens that reached the clouds. People from thousands of species walked the streets together, laughing, talking, trading, dreaming. In the center stood a tower of red crystal. At the top, Kale stood alone on the balcony wearing no crown, only his red cloak. Beside him stood the alien girl who once crowned him on Delora. She looked up at him and asked, Do you feel lonely, even after all this? Kale smiled gently. No, because I know where we started. I remember the silence, the darkness, the exile. He looked down at the lights of the galaxy below. We were nothing once. Now we are the stars themselves. But far beyond the flame, Concord, something stirred. In deep space, past the last known maps, a new signal was detected. Unknown language, unknown shape, unknown purpose. And yet, one line in the signal was somehow clear. We have heard of the humans. We come in, peace and fear. Kyle read the message in silence. His hands closed slowly. Then he smiled. Back on the tower, the girl asked, Will there always be danger? Kale nodded. Always. But this time, the galaxy won't face it alone. He turned to her, his voice calm but powerful. Now they know what forgotten fire can become. Above them in the sky, the symbol of the Ember Union shimmered. 3 stars rising from a broken circle, not a warning, not a threat, but a promise.